In addition to the house behind me, police spent much of the day investigating the silver Honda and a shed in the back of the house as well. You know, we came into 2014 10 inches below rainfall, so this is desperately needed across the area.
It's probably a good thing, then.
Absolutely.
We kind of need this a little bit right
Absolutely.
now. Absolutely. Right. Thank you so much.
Farmers are screaming, where has it been? But this wasn't just a one-store incident. All up and down First Street, you now have Christmas decorations in the window and boards on all the doors. We've been talking about it for quite a long time. What's going to happen to historic Civic Stadium? Well, depending on what the 4J School Board decides tomorrow, we could find out later rather than sooner. Technically, I'm more than halfway to Steens Mountain. It's about 5 o'clock, and hunters and ATV riders have already told me to turn around since I'm unfamiliar with the area and get back on the main surface road. I'm going to turn the camera and show you just how close I got to Steens Mountain, but pretty much the hunters and the ATV riders say when it comes to dark, this place is pretty dangerous, especially when I'm by myself. I know I've gotten a few tweets about this. Why are you making such a big deal about the freezing fog? Well, with the freezing fog, any roadway that has or has not been treated, inside these fog clouds are some damp conditions that could put another layer of moisture on the ground that could freeze, create some black ice and some slick spots in the area. That's why we highlight the freezing fog taking place in the valleys.
Only invasives.
If this were to happen in the Willamette Valley, these are the folks that we would call upon if an incident like this were to happen.
The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, first responders, and even EWEB spent their Wednesday preparing for disaster.
I wouldn't speculate on chance. We always work to prevent risk and plan for emergencies that we can't foresee.
Inside the Dexter Dam is hydroelectric equipment lubricated by more than 5,800 gallons of oil. If any of that oil leaked out of the system for any reason, the consequences to the river and local drinking water could be more than problematic. Similar to a 911 emergency call, the crews are ready to respond 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
The situation is very similar to an oil spill at sea, where crews will deploy these booms to collect the water on the surface of the river before it ever flows down into Eugene and Springfield.
But it's more than just floating something in the water.
The oil does tend to typically stay on the surface of the water. So if we can get out, we can get boom in place. We can get it corralled into a certain area and isolated. It does allow us to come in with, say, like a vacuum truck or skimmers.
The booms do not have to completely stretch across the river for a full cleanup to take place. The Corps can manipulate the flow of the river from the dam itself. Even though training was just 1 day, consequences and cleanup of a spill can take longer.
We've been training and building this response, watershed response system for 10 years now, and we've been training and drilling every year, so we are prepared and ready to respond if our source of water is impacted in any way like this.
This winter is proving to be rather interesting, and the weather has not cooperated in keeping air quality clean.
Last month, for the first time in 5 years, the Lane Regional Air Protection Agency issued a burn ban. And for the first time in 5 years, the agency is now issuing citations for those who did not cooperate.
We had a number of calls from residents who were experiencing symptoms of asthma, wheezing, coughing, and just general discomfort because of the air quality. A lot of people said they could drive around or actually walk in their neighborhoods and smell wood smoke. 45
letters are being sent out this week, all warnings. The citations have the same legal power as a traffic ticket, and future violations can cost residents $50 to $500.
So how do they know which house violated the burn ban and which one didn't? Well, the process is simple. First, a neighbor would call to complain that they saw smoke coming from a neighbor's chimney. Then, El Rapa would come out and investigate, and if they saw smoke coming out of the chimney, they'd then take pictures and document the violation.
Residents in the South Eugene and the Danabo neighborhoods are the ones being cited.
I was out running and you could smell it.
Area residents I spoke with had differing opinions about the citations.
People should be able to burn their fireplaces and keep warm. This is absolutely the wrong time of year for it.
Eugene resident Nathan Wallner says he believes in clean, regulated air, but an exception should be made for the poor.
I don't really think it's the people that are burning the wood should be the ones being regulated upon.
Two young men who've never met each other get into fights with their girlfriends, watch the movie Into the Wild, come to Oregon, and now one is dead and another is missing. Is this all just a coincidence, or is there more linking the two together?
There are areas of our county that you may not see a human being for 3 or 4 years. It's that primitive. We have over 10,000 square miles, I haven't been on most of it, and I've been sheriff for many years now.
Last spring, sheriff's deputies and search crews gathered on one of Eastern Oregon's most prominent features to find a human needle in a rugged haystack. Steens Mountain is the edge of a large fault that stretches 50 miles from north to south. And last April, after a fight with his girlfriend, Dustin Self drove from Oklahoma City to Steens Mountain and disappeared.
He had watched the movie, Into the Wild, and was going to come over here and get off the grid for a period of time.
The movie Into the Wild is the story of a man who left his conventional urban life to try to make it out in the wilderness. The only problem? At the end of the movie, the main character dies after running out of supplies. Friends describe Self as obsessed with the movie, and last April, he decided to live it for himself.
He's being Dustin, doing this, thinking he's a big man.
Self's disappearance would be an isolated incident until August, when Arizona teen John Kroom would get into a fight with his girlfriend and disappear in Douglas County. His father came to Oregon looking for his son, and what he told News Source 16 sounded strangely familiar.
He liked to keep watching it, and he would ask people to watch it with him and get their impressions.
Kroom, after going through the same circumstances as Self, disappeared into the wild. He was later found, his death ruled a suicide. But with one man dead and another missing, how powerful can one movie really be? Robert Noble with Eugene Therapy has been specializing in the behavior of young men for 10 years. He says the movie did not directly inspire the men to disappear.
In these two cases, several factors came together.
Noble says the two likely watched the movie while trying to process their emotions after the fights with their girlfriends. The movie likely made a bad situation worse.
Between 18 and 25, we're still developing the frontal lobes of our brain, which is really this sort of reasoning and logic and forward thinking. So these young men don't have that ability, and I think that everybody sort of thinks that's not going to happen to me.
Noble says the lesson to be learned is that young men need more guidance on life issues than what they see on television. In this case, the two men were able to associate more with the movie's main character than someone who had previously experienced heartbreak and could guide them through their emotions.
They're dealing with pain, they're dealing with betrayal or loss, they're dealing with anger, they're dealing with confusion, and they don't really know how to process all of those at one time. So they are, again, they're looking for examples out in culture of how men handle difficult times.
Back in Harney County, the search continues.
Dustin's father calls here periodically just for information and see if we've heard anything, and we have not.
So I headed down the long dirt road to see Steens Mountain for myself. Technically, I'm more than halfway to Steens Mountain. It's about 5 o'clock, and hunters and ATV riders have already told me to turn around since I'm unfamiliar with the area and get back on the main surface road. I'm going to turn the camera and show you just how close I got to Steens Mountain, but pretty much the hunters and the ATV riders say when it comes to dark, this place is pretty dangerous, especially when I'm by myself. Self has been spotted around Medford and Eugene, but the sheriff says nothing has been confirmed and believes that Self is actually still on Steens Mountain. The Harney County Sheriff's Office continues to run Dustin's social security number to see if he's applied for jobs, credit cards, and even a place to live. Authorities hope Dustin will come down from the mountain if he's still up there. These photos show in just a matter of weeks, the mountain will go from summer conditions back to the same conditions Self drove into back in April. The Harney County Sheriff's Office will continue to patrol Steens Mountain and this area around it, hoping to find any sign of Dustin Self. If you have any information, you're asked to call the Harney County Sheriff's Office. Reporting near Steens Mountain in Harney County, I'm Ricky Maranon, News Source 16. That's right, Ty and Amanda, Titanic, Ladder 49, even Driving Miss Daisy. Not all movies you traditionally see in the red box, but its video stores say this is what's keeping them afloat.
People that used to never come in are starting to come in because there's nothing else to watch anymore.
It's an interesting time in the video rental industry. At video stores in the Willamette Valley, there's no more corporate competition.
You know, the only thing we have is Netflix and Redbox, and people would rather come in here than try to share a 9-inch screen with their family.
Now that Blockbuster is out of the picture, locally owned video stores are left to compete with what's online and the infamous Redbox.
Streaming is certainly competition, but streaming has always been competition, and there are things things that you don't get with streaming that you do get with packaged media, bonus features and better definition.
Now, if you're worried your favorite hit movie isn't going to be available to you anymore, there's really no reason to be concerned. That's because some of the final sales made inside this building before the store closed were actually to the local video stores that we spoke with here in Lane County. Abraxas Video in Cottage Grove expanded its inventory during Blockbuster's last days. They say it's their large inventory that's helped them survive all these years.
And people want their classics. Halloween time, we had a whole bunch of people coming in for Hocus Pocus and Halloween Town and all the old family Halloween movies that people don't or people can't really get unless they happen to catch them on TV.
Local video stores say they've also seen an explosion in rentals of popular TV shows like True Blood and Seinfeld.
That'll be $3.49.
$3.49. It says $1.49.
Well, you didn't rewind it. There's a $2 charge.
With Blockbuster gone, both stores say they will now focus on the old and the new. Well, in addition to competing with the red box, local video stores say an unlikely competitor has stepped up to the plate in recent years, the local library. Live in the studio, I'm Ricky Maranon, News Source 16.